Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at classicstoday.com, here with the box we've all been waiting for. And I mean it in all seriousness. Saint-Saëns, 34 discs worth of the guy. Let me explain to you why this is such a meaningful collection. First of all, EMI, formerly EMI, that is now Warner, and Erato, which is all part of the same label, have wonderful Saint-Saëns recordings. So this promises to be excellently curated. The other reason is because Saint-Saëns is one of the great unknown composers of the 19th century and early 20th century. You know, he was a boy genius. He was one of the most gifted, the only composer that really compares to him in the entire second half of the 19th century, probably is Dvorak, for versatility. I mean, Saint-Saëns did everything. He wrote symphonies, he wrote chamber music, he wrote symphonic poems, he wrote operas, he wrote ballets, he wrote solo piano music. He did it all, and he did it all extremely well. But nobody gives him any credit for it. First of all, because he's French, and second of all, because his music shows a certain lightness, a certain facility, I think you would call it, that some people find off-putting. They don't want to take it seriously. They think it's clever, but never profound. I don't know whether it's profound or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Sometimes I think it definitely is. But the point is that the craftsmanship is always superb. It never overstays its welcome. There's so much good stuff that he wrote. And you can take anything of his and put it on and just be amazed at how terrific it's going to turn out to be, even though you've never heard it before, and even though nobody pays any attention to it. Saint-Saëns also had one of the best quotations I've ever heard in my life about music. Supposedly, maybe it's apocryphal, but theoretically what he said was this. He said, anyone who cannot be thrilled at the sound of simple chords, perfect only in their arrangement and their relationship to one another, does not understand anything about music. And he's right, if he really said it. I'm perfectly happy giving him credit for it because his music reveals that. It really does. His life was actually rather a sad one in terms of his artistic reputation because he began life as a radical, as a French composer who was interested in German music and who was interested in abstract or absolute music, who was a friend of Liszt, who was a genuine reactionary, and he ended his life somewhat passé as a sort of conservative curmudgeon, which is really a shame because he didn't deserve that. He really didn't. His music was out of fashion, and he was out of fashion, and he lived to I don't know, what are the dates? It's incredible. 1921. 1835 to 1921. That's one hell of a period to get stuck in and to have to keep up with in terms of what was happening in the world of music. So the reason that I think this box on Warner is so exciting is because as a result of his reputation and as a result of the inability of subsequent generations to see him whole. I mean, there's tons of his music that still hasn't been recorded. Operas, ballets, big works that nobody knows. And so as a result of that, his music tends not to stay in print. There are a few really popular pieces. We know what they are. It's the Carnival of the Animals, the Second Piano Concerto, the Third Symphony, of course, the Danse Macabre, and a couple other short orchestral works. Those have always hung around. But the rest of the stuff tends to come and go very quickly. It's hard to get. So to have it all in one big, juicy 34 CD package is really, really meaningful. It's wonderful. I'm very excited to have this. So without further ado, let's see what's in here. And we will take it from there. Let's see. This it's nicely packaged. And like all of these, thank God, it does this rather than this. So that when you take it down from your shelf, it's not going to fall out and kill you or break a bone or something like that. It's just so stupid the way that Universal is packaging these things. What is this? Oh, there's a booklet. You get a booklet and you get nice little jacket photos. I think these are original jackets or close to, or at least it's a series. Well, I don't know if it is or it isn't, but you get nice jacket covers. I'm not worried about it. No, it's not original jackets. And then you get the booklet. Of course, there are no texts and translations, but you do get a very nice index to all of the works included in the edition. And there are a lot of them. There really are. There's tons of stuff in here. But we have to go through it now one disc at a time and see what we can find. So let me, if I can get them out. Yes, I can extract them. CD1. Okay, here we go. Orchestral works. You get the Symphony in A major, Symphony number 1, Symphony number 2. These are fun pieces. These early symphonies, no one pays attention to them. You know, they're lovely works. They really are. He had a certain Mendelssohnian element in his makeup, as well as a Beethovenish and a Mozartian and all of those things. But the craftsmanship is so high, even though he was really just an incredible prodigy in his childhood. He really was. Then we get the Symphony in F major, the Urbs Roma, and finally the Organ Symphony. Now the Organ Symphony, and all of the symphonies are Jean Martinon. Yes, great symphony cycle, as good as any of them out there. But this Organ Symphony is the earlier of two that he did, and it's not the one that Martinon included originally in the rest of the symphonies, which was on EMI. This is the Erato recording, the earlier one, probably included because it features Marie-Claire Alain as the organist, and they're all with the Orchestre Nationale de l'ERTF, the French radio and television Orchestre, radio, television, something français, whatever, diffusion stuff. So, a wonderful symphony cycle. As good as anything out there. Great start. And I'm very happy that that's what they chose. Next. Oh, the tone poems. Fabulous disc. Danse macabre, La jeunesse d'Hercule, Feuilleton, and Le Rouet d'Omphale, all with Pierre Dervaux in the Orchestre de Paris. This was that classic EMI disc that was like the only thing available until Charles Dutoit did them for Decca. They're wonderful performances. Dervaux was a terrific conductor. And then you get La Foi, 3 symphonic pictures. Nobody knows this. Lovely music. It's lots of fun with Michel Plasson and his Toulouse Orchestra. So that's nice. We have more orchestral works. Let's see. The Carnival of the Animals in the orchestral version. And then his Suite for Orchestra, Opus 49, which is basically a Baroque dance suite type thing. Again, a work nobody knows that's charmant, absolutely delightful. And you get A Night in Lisbon, his Barcarolle, and the Overture to Spartacus. Now, the Carnival of the Animals is with Brenda Lucas and John Ogden with the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra and Louis Frémaux, which is really kind of cool. And the other is with the rest of it's with the Ensemble Orchestral de Paris under Jean-Jacques Cantereau. That's right, 15 is one. Yeah, that's those. So then we get concertante music. Now there's tons more orchestral music that could be, orchestral music in operas, orchestral music in overtures and things and suites and all kinds of stuff. But that's a very nice start to the set, isn't it? Now we're on disc 5. Okay, piano concertos. Okay, so the piano concerto cycle is the Collard-Previn. André Previn with Jean-Philippe Collard piano concertos, and they are very, very fine. And they are more modern than the earlier one. Who was it? It was with Aldo Ciccolini, I think, or one of those people doing all the piano concertos. So it's good that we have this more modern stereo cycle, and it comes with Wedding Cake and Africa Fantasy. So those are lovely. And then we get the violin concertos 1, 2, and 3, and all of the short violin pieces. Now, these are basically done with Ulf Holscher, with the New Philharmonia, and Pierre Dervaux again. And again, Ulf Holscher was one of those sort of, violinists that people pulled out to do things when no one else would do them. He did like the Korngold Violin Concerto back in the days when nobody did the Korngold Violin Concerto. Very, very good violinist. And game to make a sort of a name for himself in unusual repertoire. So good for him. And the third piano concerto is just a masterpiece. I don't know why nobody plays it. It's inconceivable to me why. And then there are some other short pieces for violin, cello, and orchestra, or violin and orchestra, and all of this stuff, especially La Muse et le Poète, The Muse and the Poet, which is a 16-minute long tone poem for violin, cello, and orchestra. Does anybody know that? No. And those are with Renaud Capuçon and Gautier Capuçon, and with Daniel Harding and the Deutsche Kammerphilharmonie Bremen. So we get all that stuff, concertante music for strings. Then we have a bunch of really interesting short pieces for flute and orchestra, flute clarinet and orchestra, for horn and orchestra, for harp and orchestra, and the cypress and laurier, the cypre et laurier for organ and orchestra, 15 minutes long, and the Rhapsodie d'Auvergne for piano and the Allegro Appassionato for piano, all these miscellaneous concertante works. And this is what I mean when I say Saint-Saëns is always full of surprises. Nobody knows these short pieces. Nobody plays them because they're too short. No one wants to do them. Wouldn't it be lovely if an orchestra decided, for example, to highlight its first desk wind players by doing short works for the wind and orchestra by Saint-Saëns? What a delightful program it could be. You could put together a concerto-length series of 3 or 4 or 5 of them. That would be marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. So now let me get to the next pile here. It just astonishes me that so little of this music is known. It's all just exquisitely written and melodic and beautifully scored. It's just got everything going for it, You need to listen to it and enjoy it. It's pure pleasure. It really is. Here's an interesting quirk. The Cello Concerto Number 1 with the Allegro Appassionato for cello and orchestra, the first with Rostropovich and Giulini, the second with Tortelier and Frémaux. Now, I understand why they had the Rostropovich, Giulini, because it's Rostropovich and Giulini. I would rather have heard the old Dorado recording who was with Andre Navarro and Charles Munch with the Lamoureux Orchestra. I think that one's sort of better. I really do. This one is good, of course, but it's a little heavy, And you know what's really odd? This is what I can't get over. It seems that Warner, Erato, and those people do not have any recording of Cello Concerto Number 2. I looked. Maybe one of you knows something that's in the Warner group of labels, a stereo recording of Cello Concerto Number 2, but they seem not to have one, so it isn't included here. Oh, well. Anyway, you'd think they would have licensed one or something, but they didn't, and it's not in here. Okay, it's a small loss. Chamber music. Now, Saint-Saëns was one of the 4 great chamber music composers in the second half of the 19th century. They were, for the record, Brahms, Dvorak, Fauré, and Saint-Saëns. And nobody gives Saint-Saëns any credit. This is great stuff. So first, the 2 violin sonatas with the Capuçon people and Bertrand Chamaillou piano, and another one with Olivier Charlier and Jean Houbeau. The beautiful, beautiful, beautiful works. And no one cares. It's shocking. There's also, as with the concertante works, a million little short, delightful pieces for violin and piano, for cello and piano, for woodwinds. Wait till we get to the woodwinds. Oh my goodness. Great stuff. Great, great stuff. There's the fantasy for violin and harp. It's a big work, 12 minutes and a bit long. And then Cello Sonata Number 1, and a bunch of pieces for cello and piano. With those same folks, largely. Amazing that we don't hear from it. Cello Sonata Number 2. Then we get the Clarinet Sonata, the Oboe Sonata, the Bassoon Sonata. There have been collections on Hyperion and other labels that give you all the Saint-Saëns music, chamber music for winds. It all fits on 2 CDs, the whole collection of it. But gee, what an amazing little repertoire that is. Woodwind players, of course, know it, but no one else does. You get they're all very good performances. We don't have to get into the details of who plays what. It's just worth hearing. It's absolutely worth hearing. Then we get the cavatina for trombone and piano. How many people have heard that? Or even knew that it existed, right? Then we have 2 piano trios. The second piano trio, by the way, the E minor piano trio, is really an amazing work. It's in 5 movements here, and it's an incredibly inventive and fascinating piece. Saint-Saëns was very, very inventive formally, by the way. If you look at, for example, even the 4th piano concerto, there are pieces that are really extraordinary and wonderfully intricate contrapuntally, and he doesn't, again, no one pays attention to what's happening there. It's just so wonderfully made. It's amazing. And we get the caprice on Danish and Russian airs for flute, clarinet, oboe, and piano. 11 fun-filled minutes of that. After the two piano trios, then we have the two string quartets with the Quatuor Viotti, an excellent group that does those two. Lovely works, absolutely beautiful works. And the piano quartet in B flat and the piano quintet in A minor. One is with the Kandinsky Quartet, and the other is the Groupe Instrumentale de Paris. Now, I have to say, somebody in the comments graciously pointed out, so that I didn't make a fool of myself, I may do it elsewhere in this collection, but not here, there is a little glitch in the finale of the piano quintet. Sorry, Jed, if I told you it was the quartet. It's the quintet. And the little glitch consists of a tiny little, like that. It's a little pop. If it had been a vinyl record, you would have heard a little, one of those things. It doesn't get in the way of anything. It's not terribly annoying, but it's there, and you should know about it. So I've pointed that out. Otherwise, it played fine on my player, but there was a little, hiccup. Didn't interrupt the flow of the music. It sounded, like I said, like a piece of something in a vinyl groove is what it sounded like. Then we get the chamber music version of the Carnival of the Animals with Michel Béroff and Jean-Philippe Collard. And that's, delightful. And it's coupled with the septet. Oh, God, I love the septet. It's such a great piece. It's got a trumpet. It's for let's see if it tells me, yes, it's for trumpet, two violins, viola, cello, double bass, and piano. What a great little piece that is. Just delightful. Somewhat quasi-known. It's been played before. Trumpeters like to do it. This is with Maurice Andre and others. Then we have instrumental music, the Fantasia for harp. It's 9 minutes of delightful harp music. And the Allegro Appassionato version for solo piano in C-sharp minor, and the Valse Nonchalante for piano with Bertrand Chamaillou. I love that title, the Valse Nonchalante. Well, it is. It's very nonchalant. Then we have piano solo music, the 6 Etudes Opus 52 and 6 more Etudes Opus 111. Now, the last of these is simply marked toccata, but what they don't tell you is that the toccata is based on the themes from the finale of the African, the Egyptian, the fifth piano concerto, the Egyptian concerto. And it's delightful. If you love the Egyptian concerto, and boy, do I, I'm just a sucker for that thing, then you want to hear the finale of the Egyptian concerto and then play this toccata. And you'll hear two different versions of the same material. It's a wonderful thing to compare. And then there's more piano music, and the 6 Etudes for the left hand alone, Opus 135. Very, very late work. Let's see here. CD 18. We're getting there, folks. Piano, 4 hands, and 2 pianos. So there's a scherzo for 2 pianos, 10 minutes long, substantial works. The introduction in Rondo Capriccioso, it's a transcription for 2 pianos by Debussy, and the Caprice for piano on airs from the ballet Alceste of Gluck, which is a transcription for 2 pianos by Debussy, which is 12 minutes long. Then there's a piano version of the Second Symphony. These are all Debussy transcriptions of the Second Symphony, and then ballet music from Etienne Marcel. Boy, it'd be nice to have the real Etienne Marcel, wouldn't it? But there we go. Then it's all transcribed by Debussy. And let's see. Oh, the complete solo organ music. Now, Saint-Saëns was the greatest organist of his age by general acclamation, quite possibly. And he wrote fabulous organ music, really enjoyable organ music. Franck gets all the credit for writing organ music, but this is good stuff too. There are 3 rhapsodies and 3 preludes and fugues, which are quite extensively involved, and 3 fantasies of various types. Saint-Saëns was a great fantasy composer, by the way. Then there's another group of preludes and fugues, 3 of them, and 7 improvisations. He was supposed to be an amazing improviser. Then you get the organ the organ part of Cyprès et Laurier. That's just the first part, Cyprès, which is an organ solo. And then there's an Elevation or Communion in E major, which is, church music. This is all with Daniel Roth. Yes, let's see. Songs. Piles of songs. Lots and lots of songs with Fisher Dieskau, Victoria de Los Angeles, Hartmut Hall, Gerald Moore, Philip Jarowski, Renaud Capuçon. I mean, there's songs for every possible combination of things. Yes, lots of them. You get the Mass for four voices, for solo and chorus with orchestral accompaniment and organ obbligato. Wow, this is the organ version of it. I wish we'd had the whole thing, but I'm not fetching. And then opera. Okay, so now we get a bunch of Maria Callas doing a bunch of things from Samson and Delilah, and Henry VIII, also with Veronique Jean and Christophe Rousset. So that's fun to do. And finally, Samson et Dalila. Yes, what a great piece that is. It's just an oratorio or an opera, depending on whether you want to stage it or not. I just love this piece. I really do. It's so gorgeous. And this is the classic recording with Rita Gore and John Vickers, conducted by Prêtre, with the Orchestre du Théâtre National de l'Opéra de Paris. And it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I just love the final scene with the Philistines, with that cute little music box, when they're going, Dieu soit propice à nos destins, que ta justice, ô Philistins, donne la gloire dans les combats, que la victoire suive nos pas. Gosh, it's wonderful. But what's so funny, it's a little music box with a glockenspiel tune. I mean, they are the most harmless Philistines you've ever seen in your life. And in the Met production, it was so demented because they were trying to do like a real bacchanal and this psychotic orgy with these pink homoerotic figures jumping all over each other. And they're singing this charming little music. It's just wonderful. I love the piece. It's such proper Philistinism, It's just great. So that's tons of fun. And then we have transcriptions and arrangements. Just all kinds of transcriptions and arrangements. I'm not even going to go into all this stuff. There's all kinds of things from all kinds of stuff. And then we have more transcriptions and arrangements, including the Carnival of the Animals with additional songs by Carl Davis and someone else. Okay. The King Singers. Oh, I remember that. I didn't listen to this again, I have to confess, before doing it, because 2 Carnivals of the Animals was enough. Yes, it has additional songs. You get another cello concerto arranged for flugelhorn. We get some flugelhorn transcriptions here. The whole cello concerto arranged for flugelhorn. Isn't that fun? And then we have Saint-Saëns plays Saint-Saëns, his own recordings. These are piano rolls and acoustic recordings of all kinds of little things, short works, the kinds of stuff that they did back then, and historical recordings. Lots of historical recordings. About 6 discs of historical recordings, which is fantastic. I'm only going to give you the highlights because I really think that you just want to know what the important things are. There's piano music. There's Le Rouet d'Enfant. There's the Overture to La Princesse Jaune. There's, oh my goodness, so much stuff here. The Violin Concerto No. 3. Let's see who's doing that. With Henri Merkel, with the Padaloupe Orchestra under Piero Coppola. Oh, that's fun. That's old, but it's fun. Then you get Piano Concerto No. 4 with Alfred Cortot and Charles Munch, classic version, famous version. It was out on Naxos. You can get it all kinds of ways. And the Cello Concerto with Andre Navarra. Okay, but this one is with the Concert Colonna de Jean Fournet. It's not the Munch one. And then we have, let's see, the Introduction and Rondo Capriccioso with Heifetz, and the Havanaise with Heifetz. One is with, they're with Barbaroli and company. Not so shabby. And let's see what else we got. Piano Concertos 1. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is wonderful. This is the 5 piano concertos and the septet with Jean-Marie Daré. She was just a remarkable pianist of the French school. This is one of the great piano concerto cycles, and it's in mono, but it sounds good. It sounds really good, and it's with with Louis Forestier conducting. These are wonderful performances. So so if you don't like Collard, you've got Daré. Daré it's just a classic set. That's just wonderful to have. And then we have the last 3 discs here. Okay. We get the Organ Symphony with Maurice Duruflé under Ernest Bohr. That's exciting. With the Orchestre du Théâtre des Champs-Élysées and the Suite Algérienne in C major. That's also with Louis Forestier. And the Danse Macabre and Feuilleton with the Concert Cologne Orchestra. I love all this historical French stuff because, as you know, I love the sound of historical French orchestras. The old French orchestral sound was such a marvelous thing. And then we have, let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, my goodness. We have some vocal stuff and a whole nother recording of Samson and Delilah from 1946. That's with Forestier and Hélène Bouvier and José Lucioni, tenor as Samson, and the high priest is Paul Cabanel. Oh boy, I listened to this when this came out, when this thing came out, because I wanted to hear how the transfers went. And, it's one of those recordings. The voices are very close. They often have a certain fuzz of distortion around them. The orchestra's way in the back. It's a primitive sounding recording from 1946 of the whole opera. But again, it's historical. And it's a lovely bonus. It's good to have all this stuff here. I mean, the history, I just knocked all these things over, which is just fabulous. There's disc 34, 33. Okay, there we go. The history of Saint-Saëns, his music, is partly the history of French music on disc. And so having this historical stuff is a wonderful, wonderful bonus and adds greatly to the interest of the set as a whole. So now I'm going to do the attempt to put this thing back in its box. I think it's going to go easily. Will it? Yes, it did. Look at that. Fantastic. And put the booklet back in, and then I can wedge it in here like this and say, buy this. Just buy it. Get it. Savor it. Don't worry about the little pip in the piano quintet. Just listen to it slowly. Take it a disc at a time. When you've got something to do and you want to have some lovely music, grab some of the chamber music at random. You're going to be delighted. You're just going to be delighted. This is wonderful, first class, top quality music by a master composer. And I am delighted that this set has been made available, and it is excellently put together. I think using really most of the best available recordings, at least in this catalog, and there's nothing to complain about at all. There really isn't. There really isn't. Well, okay, fix CD 15 track 8 if you get around to it. Otherwise, nothing to complain about. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks for joining me. Go get your Saint-Saëns. Take care.